Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is The Cinemile. It's the podcast where we walk home from the movies. Today we have decided not to go to the movies.
Specifically to the cinema.
To the cinema, yeah. There's kind of a bit of a drought on at the moment in terms of big releases. Well, I think a couple of factors. We are at the end of the summer. It is now over, is number one. There are strikes happening in the US. Writer strike and actor strike have combined. It is impacting the studio's release schedule. They are moving the big releases away because they can't get actors to promote their movies. There's going to be a drought, and there's no late night TV shows for them to go on to promote their movies. So the studios are moving things like Dune Part 2 into, I think, later this year or next year.
Way more than that is being moved. And also in Cork, where we live, the cinema in the city is closed for renovations. So when I tell you we are scraping the barrel of films to go and see in Cork right now in the cinema.
Yeah.
Barbie and Oppenheimer appear to be still getting the most showings. The Equalizer 3 is in, and we would like to see but haven't gotten to.
But here's the thing. We actually think this is a good opportunity to go back and watch some of the movies that are now available on demand that we missed and that some of you saw. And so I picked a movie to watch which Kathy doesn't know anything about. Not an iota, right? It's called Sisu. I saw a trailer for this about 6 months ago. I couldn't find it anywhere in Cork. But it looked like a hell of a lot of fun. I have a policy. I'll only watch trailers for movies I don't know anything about, and then if at any point during the trailer it has convinced me to watch it, I'll switch it off immediately. And I switched this off about 35 seconds in because it looked exactly up my street. And I think you will enjoy it too. And
you sold me when you said it's 90 minutes long.
It is 90 minutes
like, okay, here we go.
long. I'm not telling you anything else. So I think, because it's fun to go in blind.
That's all I need to know.
Right?
And like our long-term listeners will know, during the pandemic 2020, 2021, we often did kind of release movies like this as well and just talk about them instead of getting to the cinema. I hope we're not getting as bad as the pandemic with movie releases, but for now, I'm excited to see Sisu. And
Sisu.
It's 90 minutes. Where are we going to rent it from?
I don't know, probably Apple.
Okay, so it's available kind of widespread.
I think you can just rent it wherever you rent.
So we let you guys know then if it's worth you renting.
Yes. So we're going to check in shortly. We're going to head home now and watch that, and then go out for a walk, and we'll check in with you guys. So here we go. Sisu.
He was a Finnish commando. He lost his home and his family in the war. He became a one-man death squad. He's one mean motherfucker that you do not want to mess with. Fire!
You'll see what happens when you take everything from him.
Do you really believe that he's immortal?
No, he just refuses to die.
How many minds did we bury here?
All of them.
All right, hi, we're back. We have seen Sisu. We're back out for a walk. Kathy, why don't you give a brief synopsis as to what this movie is about? Although, I will say, maybe you should I think you should watch this movie and not know anything about it. Would you agree, Kathy?
I would,
Did you like that method of seeing this?
Because I was watching it like, what the heck are we watching? And then I got really into it as it went on. So very briefly, it's set in 1944. It's set in Finland, and it's kind of in or around the Nazi retreat from Finland. And it's about this one Finnish guy, and you kind of follow his journey. It's gory and kind of...
I can tell you what's in the trailer. They probably just heard it, right?
I think, yeah. Well, let's not give too much away, but it's a gory film, and it's quite funny.
You need to hear the premise. If you don't want to know anything about it,
premise
go
is
watch it.
He's Rambo.
He is a gold
Finnish
prospector
Rambo
who finds gold and then is intercepted by Nazis retreating, and then it's him versus the Nazis trying to get his gold.
Yeah.
That's the premise. And it is, it's essentially, he's also Rambo.
Yeah.
This movie is so fun. Oh my God, it's so
very
good.
Fun. Yeah, very
It's
fun.
just like...
Because initially I was like, oh, do I want to watch a movie set in 1944 about the Nazis? And then you realise the tone. Like, if anything, not to be reductive, but the tone is kind of like
It's
Quentin
absurdist farce.
Tarantino-esque.
There is nothing.
So that's the kind of vibe of it.
This movie presents as gritty and like has some really dark subject matter attached to it, but it is a comic book. The Nazis are all ridiculously evil. They're murderers naturally, and they want to kill dogs, which is coding in movies for the worst type of people.
Yeah.
You know, the and the things that happen, which we will talk about in Spoiler Street, are so ridiculously over the top. That you can't. It is so not grounded. It's like it's like Fast and the Furious levels of absurdism to a point.
Yeah.
Which actually makes this film so entertaining. So yeah, Quentin Tarantino's a clear reference point, I think, for this movie. It's got the big yellow Western graphics that he favors from the 70s. I would say this is derivative of a few things. It feels like very like John Wick at times. It feels very like any old man action adventure like Taken, or it feels like, do you know what I mean?
But then as we were watching it, I was saying to Dave, it's very derivative, but it's also got
inventive.
loads of its own inventiveness.
Yes,
yeah.
I wrote down 4 or 5 things that I have never seen before in any movie. And like I was cheering. I was absolutely cheering for this.
I was really rooting for this dude. And so the Finnish word Sisu means like,
which you were told at the very beginning
means
in
like,
the title card.
Like really tight-fisted, like resilient,
determined.
Determined.
It is a word. The movie tells you this is a word that has no translation, which I liked.
It has no translation.
But this is broadly what it means.
This 90-minute movie is a translation of what Sisu means, I'm sure, for all our Finnish listeners. I think if you like gory, violent, you're into Rambo, Tarantino stuff.
But like fun, over the top violence. This is right.
You'll enjoy this movie. If you're not into those things, take a hard left. You can listen past Spoiler Street, but don't see the movie.
Rambo is a good counterpoint. John Wick, it's very much like it's all those kind of movies.
So I think we should go to Spoiler Street now.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say that's not spoilery. But please, this is worth €4, right? Or that's what we paid, €4 or €5 for 90 minutes of really real entertainment.
So.
Shout out to it was directed by written and directed by Jean-Marie Helander. I'm probably butchering his name, but like this guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to direct action. He knows how to come up with like insane things. The conflict in this movie is always ratcheting up. There are several moments where you're watching the protagonist and you're like, there is literally no way he can get out of this, and then turns out there is the most ridiculous way he can get out of it, and it's like fist in the air kind of moment. And let's talk about all of those in Spoiler Street now. Okay, spoilers now for Sisu. Okay, so the things that were so insane and fun in this movie were him throwing a landmine in someone's face.
The landmine stuff.
All the landmine stuff was fantastic.
First of all, completely unexpected, and then completely brilliant. And that's when I got interested in the movie. Before the landmine bits, I was like, oh.
When you see him
don't know about this.
When you see him pick up the rock, and you think, right, that's just desperate, right? He's just going to, he's going to try and fight his way out with a
And we're
with
like,
a
why
rock.
is he still trying to pick up the gold? Like, drop the gold.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, it's done. He's going to be captured. I was like, there's no way he's getting out of this.
And then I was like, it's going to be a prisoner of war film. I don't want to watch that.
He throws the rock at the landmine, and it throws up all the dust. And then they send someone out, and he throws a landmine at that dude's face, and he explodes. And I was just like,
very graphic.
And that's the point. You know what sort of movie you're in for, and it only escalates from there.
When the horse blew up as well. You're like, this is going to be really
horrific.
Gory.
Really
gory.
The injury detail in this was like, I got to say, hats off to the visual effects people and the makeup people.
Brilliant
so
makeup,
good. But the next bit was when we were really laughing. Was the whole underwater scene where they keep sending guys down, and he slits the guy's throat and sucks the oxygen out of his throat. I was like, That did not just happen.
So our scientific correspondent, my sister Elizabeth, who's a scientist, I ran this past her.
Oh, you did?
I was like, can you
Oh.
slit someone's throat and like suck the air out of their lungs? She's like, I don't think so.
Then maybe they didn't cover that in her PhD.
Yeah, maybe not. Because when he went under, I said to Dave, okay, he's going underwater, like he's going to do something mad, like grow gills or something, I don't know, he's like superhuman. And next minute, yeah, he was like, every time another Nazi fell in the water and then they'd pop up, and like, it was, and that's when what I enjoyed about it at that point is that the film was like, it knew it was absurd, and what the film does well, I think, is really silly things. It doesn't particularly try to explain them.
Yeah,
because
but
there's no way, like at the next point when he's hung, right? He's actually hung. Somebody hangs him with a rope.
actually,
There's
technically
no-
hanged. Not to be pedantic.
But there's no way he would have survived that, but the movie just didn't explain it.
No,
and I appreciate that.
Kathy, it's easy. You just hoist yourself up onto a rusty
Oh my God, that
nail
was disgusting.
and you stay
No,
there
but
all
before
night.
that, he already should have been dead.
Yeah,
You
of
know what I
course.
mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I
And
don't
then
know why he
sticks
wasn't
out-
dead from that.
But before that, actually, he'd already had something going on with his knee where he'd been sticking a knife in his knee. So this leg, at
He had
this
a
point,
bullet in his knee,
He'd
which
a
he
bullet
fished
in
out.
his knee, and whether it's the same leg or another leg, he then stuck a leg into a rusty nail and was like hanging all
The
night
levels
off it.
of self-surgery. in
And
this.
like he was running grand by the end of the film, and I kind of enjoyed it because they're like, do you know what? He's just invincible.
I will
He's
say,
legend. He is Sisu.
I gotta say, hats off to the filmmakers though, because it's a fine line that escalates like a graph. It goes up steadily, the absurdism, throughout the whole thing, but it never does. I called to Fast and the Furious earlier. It never goes beyond the point where you're like, that's impossible from a physics point of view. It's just
Dave,
absurd.
It is impossible.
No.
You slit someone's throat and suck
I'm
the
like,
air out of their lungs.
but it somehow remains relatively grounded.
Do you know
like I was
how?
like, go on.
It's because they don't have like also crazy visual effects, so it looks. They've not done an also visually unbelievable thing. So I think unbelievable is happening, but they've got a really grounded actor, and he's just like
They're
him
not
with a load of
sending him
mud.
up a car into space.
Now, I did say to Dave though, he had the pickaxe on his back for the whole film. I was like, he's gonna do something mad with that pickaxe at the end, and he truly did. He did.
Oh, the plane bit.
Like,
That's
that
when
was
it was kind of
ridiculous.
Mission Impossible at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
I mean, that was
ridiculous.
so funny.
That was, and then he strapped your man to the.
Oh, that was so good.
That was so good.
One of the best villain deaths. Well, I saw the thing hanging down the chains, and I was like, that's going to get used for someone. Someone's
That
going to
was
get
sick
strangled.
what they did to his cheek.
Oh, this is awful. When
But
he's
then
beating
when
him
he
with the strap.
when he crashed, he crashes in the plane, right? And you're like, okay, well, he's obviously dead. And
You
I
know,
like how
because
they
he was
just.
wearing a seatbelt.
I like how
that
they
he
just
fashioned out of
show us
nothing.
a new scene where the pickaxe comes out of like a swamp.
Yeah, okay.
Again, I just like that they're like, look, we're not explaining why he's alive. He's just alive.
He's
and I
just
actually
alive. He's
rather
invincible.
That.
He is Kyoshi or
Yeah.
whatever. That was so. We were laughing at the when you get the exposition from the German soldier, which he all received from his general over the headpiece.
Yeah.
Where he's like to his commander, he's like. He says we're lucky to be alive. He's called. The Russians call him Gyosho. He killed 300, and we were asking each other like, how does he know any of this?
Yeah.
How does his German commander know? First of all, that this is the guy from a number on a dog
Yeah,
tag
because
that
it's
was communicated
1944.
to
There
him.
was databases. You typed in a number.
Yeah,
and
that's the
someone's
number.
car
Oh
came
no,
up.
that's the guy. You better watch out for him. But it's like, how do they know that he killed 300 Russians? You're on the other side,
Yeah.
right? Like, so how do you know that information?
Absurd. About individuals.
and,
yeah.
and then how do you know what the Russians
And
call
then the
him?
women, the poor kidnapped women, they knew about him as well.
Well, I believe they would know about him because
They're Finnish.
they're Finnish.
Yeah, he's a legend. I love when he armed all those women and they got their revenge on the Nazi. That was so
very satisfying as well.
satisfying,
There's a lot of punch the air moments
Yeah.
in this movie. It's really fun. It looks great. Like it looks like it's shot.
It opens up like a Wild Wild West setting. Like I don't think I've ever seen someone outside of like the late 1800s, early 1900s. I don't think I've seen a setting where people are digging for gold. Like,
Well, you called back Tom Waits in The Legend of Buster Scruggs, right, or whatever.
Yeah, it
called.
was really
the Coen
like
Brothers
that,
movie.
yeah.
It was reminiscent of that. So it's funny. I think you nailed it. It is derivative of and reminiscent of many things, like the fact that they even put a dog in there that was under threat.
Yeah.
Leans even more into John
At
Wick.
the end, by the way, he inexplicably
sorry,
has his dog again.
Someone who also is a legend and a ghost that a group of people have you've picked with the wrong person, and then they hear third hand, they call him Baba Yaga. And all this, like, it's a straight out of John Wick or out of any of these kind of movies. So a lot of that, it's not particularly new or original. We're familiar with this format. But the movie pushes past that and is like, here you go, he's going to slit a guy's throat underwater and drink the air.
Yeah, exactly.
so I'm like,
our Finnish listeners,
I admire it.
Because we looked him up afterwards, and apparently he's based on like some sort of real legend. We actually have Finnish listeners, because there was a period in time there where we
we're big in Finland, aren't
we're
we?
like the number one film podcast in Finland, and we didn't know why. You guys,
all the Finnish guys are going to be looking at this like, Sisu! I feel Sisu!
Tell us! Nice. Tell us what you think, Finnish listeners, also other listeners, and hopefully some of you who've listened beyond Spoiler Street but who hadn't seen it, and you shouldn't have done that. And if they'd already planned on not seeing it, we'll go and watch it now.
Well, actually, if I were you guys, whoever those people are, and I just listened to that, that would make me want to watch the film more.
Yeah, we've given it
I'd be
all
like,
away.
now I want to see somebody get strapped to a bomb.
Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. If you could please send us on movies that you kind of wish you'd reviewed and is now available on demand.
Let us know on @theCinemile on Instagram.
X.
Letterboxd. No, I'm not promoting it. I'm off. I'm out of
You're
X.
out of it. I'm
you
off.
run the Cinemile.
Blue Sky or Blue Ski, we're not sure what it's called at the Cinemile. But mainly come over to Patreon, where we're watching retro movies every month.
We just watched Persepolis, which is a great movie.
And we're talking about loads of TV at the moment that we've been watching.
Yeah, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about Ahsoka Foundation.
Hello
Tomorrow on Apple TV. There's loads of stuff we're watching.
Loads of stuff we've been watching. I've been watching Who is Aaron Carter.
Yeah. So that's patreon.com/theCinemile, or email us. We like to be emailed, thecinemile@gmail.com.
Bye.
Bye.
We might have a problem.